Hey, what's up guys, it's Nick2 here to show you guys Dragonheir Silent Gods, which is a free-to-play dark fantasy strategy RPG game available predominantly over on Steam, but also available on mobile devices if that's more your thing. This game combines hero collection with strategic grid-based combat systems, while also having this like open world kind of sandbox exploration and even some seasonal social gameplay to create an extremely engaging gameplay loop. Big thanks to Dragonheir for sponsoring today's video, and you can download it by using my link down in the description. Something that has me super excited though is that as a brand new player, you get access to over 600 free draws just by playing the game. This is going to be primarily from like map exploration, starter quests, seasonal journeys, kind of just like stuff that you're going to do anyways, and even some login rewards. 600 summons is just an absolutely insane number and should give us more than enough options to create a completely stacked team. In addition to that, there's a ton of special events going on right now from October 24th all the way until November 28th that offer an insane amount of rewards. The reason that a lot of these rewards are so impactful is because at its core, Dragonheir is primarily about hero collection and creating like a stacked deck of awesome champions, which not only look absolutely fantastic, but also have a ton of interesting and like very unique abilities, which makes it super addicting to like constantly unlock and try out new champions. Each champion even has like their own talent tree where you can like specialize into certain branches, get certain abilities, which I find to be extremely cool. You guys know that I absolutely love min-maxing, setting up builds and all that sort of thing, and the sheer amount of hero options in this game and like how much depth there is to each hero, there's honestly like an endless amount of possibilities when it comes to creating a team composition. I just love how many customization options there are, but on top of that, one of the best features I've seen in this game that not a lot of other games have and they should definitely adopt is that all of your heroes actually share like an account-wide level. So if you get like a brand new hero, but you already spent a lot of time leveling up your other ones, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to wait to play that character. You don't have to grind it out or anything. It'll just be on par with the rest of your characters. So the second that you get it, you can try it out and have a great time with it. Honestly though, I'm just genuinely impressed at how good some of these heroes look. But out of all of the legendary heroes that I've looked at, by far the best looking is the Dark Lady, a top tier summoner based hero which is available for a limited time from October 24th until the 19th of November. If you reach a total of 300 summons during the event, you'll be able to claim her, and her exclusive artifact will also be available for exchange as well. From what I can tell, the Dark Lady seems to be the most powerful hero in all of Dragonheir, so it's pretty insane that like literally everybody's going to have access to her. Dark Lady is an extremely versatile hero, providing overpowered defensive and offensive capabilities for your team. Primarily, she's like a debuffer where you can dispel enemy shields and buffs, allowing the rest of your team to just pump out as much damage as possible. Her passive, Mother of All Things, is absolutely nuts. Basically, whenever a unit on the battlefield dies, whether it be your units or enemies, all of your units will then get a portion of their attributes, so extra damage, defense, HP. And on top of that, your allies are also healed for 10% of the dead unit's max HP, which is like extremely strong if you kill like a really tanky enemy or something. But this means if you're like summoning a lot of your own minions and stuff, anytime one of those minions die, you'll get a whole bunch of buffs for your whole team. She also just deals a ton of raw damage with her main ability that is even going to inflict attack penalty onto enemies to buff your team's damage even further. She synergizes extremely well with almost any team comp, but like I said, she's going to work best with summoner-based lineups due to all of her passives. She even has her own unique story quest that you can engage with, which is truly exciting, but I don't want to show you guys any spoilers. It'll actually be super easy to get this many summons with all the new player bonuses and as well as the event bonuses that are currently active, such as a daily check-in, and every day you just get 10 summons completely for free. So that by itself is honestly enough to unlock the Dark Lady. But that's not the only event that's happening. There's actually an enormous amount of things. But one of the best ones is that during the events, there will also be these like daily goodie bags in addition to the daily check-in, where you can actually like spend stamina to get up to 8 goodie bags a day. And then each goodie bag can also be upgraded. So the more that you upgrade it, the better rewards that it'll end up giving you. There's even more rewards to claim if you end up forming like a 3-person adventure team with some friends. Kind of incentivizes you to play with your buds. And if you guys complete some challenging quests together, you can claim some absolutely sick rewards. And if you fill up the piggy bank as a team as well, everybody will get a share of the rewards. So that is really cool. But as you can tell, there's just an absolutely enormous amount of things that you guys can start to obtain by taking advantage of these events, and you'll definitely want to if you're interested in getting a hottie like this. There's a massive amount of champions in this game, and I just kind of wanted to go over and show you guys some of my favorite features with them. I am on a test server, so I actually have access to everything, so I've been messing around, and that's been really cool. I just wanted to go over with you guys some of my favorite things. As you guys know, I love making builds. I love kind of looking at the granular details of things, optimizing, etc. And this game, like I said earlier, has a ton of depth and a lot of different ways to do that. So first thing that I really like and that I noticed immediately is that there's a lot of information about the heroes in terms of like actual stats. Like a lot of games, they kind of give like vague stats and don't really explain to you what's going on. But in this game, there's like health, defense, attack, the exact crit amount, and the attack interval, so you can see exactly how fast that they are attacking. If you're ever curious about something, there's a ton of tooltips just like spread all over the place in the game. So if you ever want to see what something means, such as the attack interval, you can just click on this and it says, boom, the interval between two basic attacks. The attack speed increases by percentage of the current hero. So that's particularly helpful. And one thing you'll see here is that I have a whole bunch of empty gear slots, and the gear in this game is crazy. Obviously, I have everything unlocked, so it's going to seem pretty crazy, but there is an absolutely massive amount of options here. So, for example, just on the helmet, you can see that it gives you like some decent, stats. You get damage-related things, or you can get enlightenment, crit, resistances. So you kind of want to mix and match between like defense and actual damage. It's not just like all the same type of stuff, which I actually really like because it gives you more options and you have to actually think about what you're putting on your character. But as you can see, there's also these little set bonuses. So this one, because it is like presumably, a legendary, very like high tier item, it has a one-piece bonus where the wearer gains an additional attack equal to 300% of your current accuracy. So this kind of incentivizes you to stack a lot of accuracy. There's another one here which I think is cool where for each ally of the same school present, you get increased attack power. So like if I had multiple allies that were like ice damage, for example, then it would be worthwhile to use something like that. And there's just an absolute ton of these like set bonuses. Like this one gives you immunity for a little bit on basically a cheat death for a little bit, but there's even like 2-piece and 3-piece bonuses which seem pretty strong too. That's just the helmet, right? This is pretty much the same when it comes to weapon, gloves, chest, and then we also have these runes that are pretty interesting, which we'll talk about in a second. So there's just so many different ways to kind of customize your guy and also to be like constantly having something to grind for, especially because when looking at the stats, you can see that some of these stats are just flat numbers and others are percentages. So you'll actually kind of want to mix and match between flat numbers and percentages to kind of get the most value out of things. Something that's really cool is actually the artifacts. So the artifacts, they kind of have the same balance where there's like a lot of defensive related things and then there's also a lot of offensive related things, and you'll probably want some defense within your team on their actual artifacts. But let's say I wanted to play the Dark Mommy here and I just do the quick equip just to see kind of what it'll do. There's the quick equip feature, so it'll just like put stuff on in case you just don't ever want to worry about it. But I like looking at this sort of stuff, kind of why I like to play games. But the Dark Lady does a whole bunch of like necrotic kind of debuff related things. And her artifact, this one, at least the one that I put on, which is the Dark Lady exclusive one, enemies affected by debuffs continually will lose their HP. And then for each type of debuff that's on them, they're going to take extra necrotic damage. So you can see this is very damage oriented, but it's also highly specific to the Dark Lady. Of course, this one is like exclusive to her, but there's all sorts of different ones. There's like even a summoning one that seemed pretty good. I think it's this one, yeah. So if I was like summoning a whole bunch of undead creatures and then they die, they're gonna like blow up and do a lot of damage. This kind of incentivizes me to spawn a whole bunch of minions, and of course it just opens up like a whole lot of build opportunity. And no two artifacts are the same. They're honestly extremely unique, and I find that to be very impressive, especially considering just like how many there actually are. And I think that that just makes it a lot more fun to kind of set up your character. When it comes to the actual like champions and heroes themselves, they aren't locked into a specific role of like tank, support, DPS sort of thing. There's actually just like a complete mix and match across all of them. Each character can kind of do like a very interesting mix. So for example, this guy is a necrosis tank that deals necrotic damage, but he also can heal and he also has a dispel debuff. Usually champions will have like 2 passives. So for example, this guy just has a all HP passive for all allies on the battlefield. And then also another passive, even more details with the advanced tooltip here, which I quite like, but it's like an evil aura that applies chaos to all the enemies, and it'll kind of give you a representation of where you'd want to put it on the actual grid to kind of like min-max how much value you're getting out of it. Then also like an active ability, so this is the Dispel debuff, which would just deal necrotic damage to enemies within the range, so it'll kind of give you an idea of what the range is here, how much damage it does, how long it takes to recharge, and if you like actually upgrade it, how much you get per upgrade. Then also it'll show you each character will have an ultimate as well. So this one will just do like a whole bunch of damage. and it'll inflict a healing reversal on the enemies, which could be particularly good if there's like an enemy team comp that heals a lot, for example. There's also even like certain hero bonuses. So for example, if you have like 3 necrosis or ice heroes, you'll get a 3 hero affinity, so you get like a bonus of all these stats, which is pretty good. And this exists for fire, poison, lightning, and radiance too, so that is another thing to consider when actually making your team comp. And like I was mentioning earlier, of course, there's all the equipment, but there's also talent trees, and you can kind of pick which direction you want to go to kind of specialize. So this one would be like when taking damage while you have a shield, you deal a little bit of extra damage. This one is like more specific to like your actual ability and like damage reduction related stuff. There's honestly just so many different ways to customize, and that's what I think is like the coolest part about this game. Once you figured out all the characters that you actually want to play with, you have this like little team UI here where you can kind of set up your own lineup, of course. Totally makes sense. You can just pick between all the characters. Ideally, you'd probably want a mix of like, damage dealers, some buffers, and maybe like, multiple supports to kind of help your guys out. But you could also load a team code, so if somebody has like a particular team, you could just import it, and that's pretty sick there too. And of course, you can edit your equipment stuff, and there's even like skill timing settings here if you wanted to get really granular with it. But something that I think is super cool that is unique to this game is that if I turn off my camera right here, you can see that there's a team damage calculator here, so I can select all my teammates, and then I can actually simulate, and it will tell me how much damage that my team is going to do. This will make it significantly easier to kind of min-max and throw a whole bunch of different characters together, kind of simulate what team is going to give you your best outcome, and you could just mess around with this a whole bunch. Obviously, this is not going to take into account like the actual survivability of your team, but it is giving you like a raw damage number, so you could just go in here and mess around with all sorts of different stuff to try to like get the highest number here. And I thought that was particularly cool. And when you're actually in game, it'll show you how much damage you're doing per second, and it'll often line up with that number at the bottom. Another feature that's awesome is that they have like an account appraisal feature. So if you played Dragonheir before and you appraise your account, you can get up to 15,000 worm arrow, which is equivalent to like 150 summons, which is insane. But if you've also never played the game before, but you've played similar games like Raid Shadow Legends, for example, and you take a screenshot of like how powerful your account is, they'll actually give you some free rewards to kind of incentivize you to come try the game out, because they know that you're a big boy gamer and they think that you deserve some stuff. So it's just like a nice, helpful onboarding process. But honestly, if you're a new player, you're getting an enormous amount of stuff anyways with like the massive amount of events going on here with all the special stuff. So highly recommend downloading it by using my link in the description. And a big thanks to Dragonheir for sponsoring today's video.